Hey guys, welcome back to After Hours with me, Jimmy Thistle. Today we've got Jess on the podcast. Jess started drinking at 14, watched her parents do it, watched her older cousins do it, and in a house where every Sunday ended with a room full of adults laughing louder, watching the football. She couldn't wait for her turn. By the time she got there, she was blacking out on weekends, waking up not knowing how she got home, losing her phone in ditches, and one night coming round in a complete stranger's bed with no memory of the night before. Her friends thinking she was lying somewhere dead in a freeway, and yet no rehab, no intervention, no dramatic rock bottom moment the way you see in the movies. Just a Tuesday morning, a hangover that hit different, and a feeling so strong she's never been able to shake it. That the person she'd been shown up as wasn't even close to the person she knew she was. So on the 8th of July 2020, Jess had her last drink. She hasn't wanted one since, not craved it, not missed it, not white-knuckled her way through a single sober Friday night. Because here's the thing Jess figured out, that most people in recovery never get told. The alcohol was never the problem. It was just the painkiller she kept reaching for, so she didn't have to feel everything she hadn't dealt with yet. So today we're getting into it all. Growing up with two high-functioning addicts for parents, being undiagnosed neurodivergent in a school system that didn't see her, the car accident at 16, the years of numbing, and how she finally walked away from it all. Not by quitting drinking, but by falling so in love with who she was becoming that there was simply no room for it anymore. This one's going to hit, so stick around and listen for the similarities and not the differences, guys. Jess, welcome to After Hours. How are you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Tell the listeners where you're at. I mean, I've been getting a lot of normally I get people from the UK and this, that, and the other, but I've been splashing out. I've been getting a lot of people from across the other side of the pond. So where are you today?
I am in Carlsbad, California, so North County, San Diego, sunny
Nice.
San Diego.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's sunny, sunny, sunny. That's what we're missing here. We don't have any of it at the moment. So please send some our way.
Yeah,
Jess,
there you go.
thank you, thank you. Well, I mean, I've got my beanie cap on for the people that are not yet watching us. They need to start watching on YouTube rather than just listening. But yeah, we tell us your story. Tell us where you grew up. Did you grow up in California, and how was your childhood?
I did grow up in California. I actually grew up in San Diego, a little bit south of where I live now. Um, my childhood, I could say, is like kind of complex. Like, I definitely think looking back on it now and where I am now, like, I do have a very well-meaning, great family, but I was raised by people who are working through their own stuff
Mm-hmm.
and were raising children at the same time. So both of my parents had substance abuse issues, so I was kind of raised under that. It was very well managed, very high functioning. It wasn't like a lot of stories you hear where, kids are completely abandoned or anything like that. I would say the abandonment was more emotional. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, in a sense, I was very privileged with the way I grew up. And at the same time, there was a lot that I was needing that I wasn't getting as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a very sensitive soul, so I just absorbed a lot of what I saw, and I really looked up to my parents as a kid, and so I really normalized like drinking culture because that was what I saw. That was how they connected with friends. That's how we connected with family. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we'd have football parties at our house every weekend, and it was fun, um, but disconnected from you know uh, how do I say it? Just kind of disconnected from the fact that that's not like real fun, right? Like that's like adults who honestly are still kind of children inside who haven't really
Yeah.
learned how to connect genuinely. And so that's just kind of what I picked up on. And I would say I was a pretty like confident and sassy like little kid. Always
Mhm.
sensitive and like shy, but around people I knew, I was very high energy, and I'm neurodivergent too, so there's that piece as well in there. But as I got older, you know, like into teenage years, I definitely kind of like fell into like my shell quite a bit more.
Mm.
Lots of insecurity, lots of just feeling like I don't belong kind of feeling. And I could not wait to get to the point where I was like old enough to start partying, because
Mm.
that was just like, I don't even think consciously, but I think I could see that was a way I could like feel good, right? I would say
Yeah.
I was sad a lot of my childhood. I just felt this like something was wrong with me kind of feeling. I think that's a lot of people who are undiagnosed neurodivergence experience growing up. Um, but yeah, I couldn't wait for something to make me feel better, and
Yeah.
seeing, you know,
Do you
my older family and siblings have fun in that way. I just couldn't wait to get there.
I was gonna say, do you think, like, when your parents and older siblings were kind of, and friends and family coming round and, having barbecues and sports, on TV or whatever, it's like, because you weren't able to be in that drinking crowd yet because you were still too young, you were seeing all these people maybe being outlandish and just acting crazy and having fun, but that's where the anxiety probably comes from, because you've not yet experienced that kind of let go attitude that you get from the alcohol or whatever substance it is. So you're feeling like you want to let go in these surroundings where all these adults and older siblings are doing that, but actually you're like still got that, which is normality, isn't it? It's like you're not that type of person, and they're probably not either, but because they're drinking, they're kind of letting go and letting loose. So you're like, I want to be there, I want to get to that point. Yeah.
I want to be
So
part of
when
the
did
crowd.
you? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And who doesn't, like,
Yeah.
I'm sure, and we'll get to this later, like when I first stopped drinking and to go out with friends and things like that, I still had massive anxiety because they could all, their inhibitions were down and lowered and they were just saying what they wanted to say. Whereas I was sober and I was like, I'm gonna be more guarded about what I say and what I come out with and things. So it is that divide, I guess. And so what age were you when kind of alcohol came along then?
I was 14,
Yeah,
so right
it's a
before
kind
I
of
entered high
standard
school.
age. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. And I had a cousin who I was really close with who was a
yeah.
couple years older than me, and I was just so excited to finally get to go to parties with her, and and I remember the first time I drank with her and her friends. It was just at home. I blacked out. I was throwing up. And it's funny because like years later, in my time of drinking, like almost had forgot about that, and I struggled so
Hmm.
much with blacking out the whole entire time I drank. And I'm like, wow, since day one, that has
Well,
been a thing.
it
That-
it's but the thing is, it's like, some people do when they have the first drink, they get drunk and they black out and they sit, they puke or whatever.
yeah,
Like, I don't think I did. I did eventually, but I don't think the first exact time I did that, I just loved it. But basically it's your body rejecting the poison, like, so it's
yeah,
like people go, oh yeah, you puked when you had your first drink, ha ha ha. And it's like, no, that's like a natural reaction to the body from putting poison in it,
totally.
it's mad. Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
going to say, like, how did that make you feel that first time drinking? But obviously you don't really remember it, and you probably didn't enjoy the vomiting.
I mean, honestly, like if I'm being real, I don't think like I think I just normalized that piece, and I don't
Yeah.
think it gave me this. I mean, because that was the first time, and I drank for another almost 10 years after that. I
Yeah.
don't think it gave me this like negative perception of it. I think it was more like, oh, now I'm in it. Now I'm in the
Now you're
game,
in it.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think all throughout my like the time I was drinking, I could honestly say like I had a lot of fun. Like I
Hmm.
did. Um, I'm also that type of person. I'm just like high energy. I like to have fun. I like to find the party. Not really anymore, but at
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
time, um, people liked being around me because of my energy, that kind of feeling. So I had like a good time, but at the same time, like it took a really long time to recognize that the negative repercussions were so much greater than the good time I was like temporarily having. And of course, even more over time, realizing like the only reason that felt good is because I was able to disconnect from myself and I was able to quiet the noise temporarily of all the insecurity and shame and trauma and everything that I hadn't faced. So yeah, like in it felt fun. And honestly, like that first time it was just like, oh, I can't wait till the next time. I wasn't really worried about the fact that I got sick or blacked out really, because I was so focused on like wanting to have fun and be free and be an adult basically.
Yeah.
What my thought was.
That kind of glamorous persona that you know, the adults and the normalized behavior that you've learned from, you know, seeing the adults do it. And so how did your kind of schooling go? You know, did you do well at school? And then
I wouldn't say I did that well. I was always the person everyone cheated off of, but I didn't get good grades. So
well,
highly
they were getting bad
intelligent,
grades
but
as well.
yeah, I mean, I was also undiagnosed neurodivergent. So like the way that I work, the way that I'm able, like I needed a lot more support than I got. My parents were very like hands off when it came to school. So like I was responsible for making sure I did my homework, my projects, all that stuff. When looking back, I can see what I really needed was someone to be a little bit of a helicopter parent in that way and like make sure I did it, make sure I understood it, all of that. And I didn't have that. So I was a huge procrastinator. I never studied for anything until the last minute. And so like I would do really well on tests, but I would never do my homework, things like that. So, and I missed a ton of school. Like I missed probably like 30 to 40% of days, particularly in like high school. But yeah.
Wow.
Because
And
I
so
was struggling.
yeah, because you weren't enjoying it, and it was like, well, you know, yeah, and I suppose the support might have helped you kind of steer you in the right direction. And then but I suppose weekends were just for drinking. It wasn't like affecting your schoolwork that way at all, was it? Or, you know, was it later on that it kind of...
I mean, I think inevitably, like, you know, if you're blacking out like once or twice a week, like it's gonna feed into your weekdays and your energy and your focus and all of that. So I think, and I also think I was not focused on school. I was really focused on like social life and like boys and having fun. And that was, I had entered a new school in my sophomore year of high school, and it was just this really exciting new experience that I had never had before. So at the time I was just like, so like attention driven basically. And I got in a pretty bad car accident, my junior year of high school. And I think that also just kind of like, it rocked my life in a good way, in the sense of like super grateful I'm alive and walking and all of that. But I think it also just sent me on like a deeper numbing path that's necessary in order for me to be where I am right now. So like, I don't regret the fact that I went so deep into it, because I know now I'm here to help people who are in that same space. But yeah, I think, the car accident, it took me out of my schoolwork. It took me, like, it was just a really big like shakeup for me. So
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds horrific, and that kind of traumatic experience at, what were you, 16, 17, or a little bit? Yeah.
16.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's a young age to be in something that could have ended, you know, devastatingly bad. So yeah, there's no question that that's going to have an effect on you. And did you go straight into work, or did you go to college after school, or like after high school?
I went to college. For my first semester, I went to University of Alabama, even though I didn't really want to go there. A friend wanted to go there with me, and then I got in and she didn't. So I already had it planned. So I just went. Totally, the South is not my vibe. It was a
on
fun
your own
experience.
as well.
Yeah. It was a cool experience. But then I came back. I took a year off of school, and then I went back to college, and then I went to community college, and then I transferred over to UC San Diego, and then I finished my bachelor's there. So, I
Okay.
mean, the
Cool.
whole experience was probably like maybe 6 years in total from when
Yeah.
I.
And how was your drinking at college?
So I specifically chose a college that was not a party school.
Okay.
Um, I lived with, this was actually like 10 years ago. I moved into this house that I'm in now.
Hmm.
Um, I lived with partiers and I already had my set of friends. So I went to a school. UC San Diego is a very like, well, this is going to sound in simple terms, but just really smart people go there and they're there for
Yeah,
the
yeah, like an
education.
intellectual type, academic
Yeah,
school, even though they're all meant to be academic. But I know
yeah.
what you mean. It's like, yeah,
It's a
people
huge
that
medical.
aren't people that aren't gonna be messing about partying all the time. They want to study and get the work
Yeah, they're
done.
there
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
get an education, not to
yeah,
party.
yeah.
So I would say that's like something that really balanced me out.
Hmm.
Because even though like my home life and my weekend life was a little wild, I was going to school every day in a place where I was surrounded by people who were a lot more healthy minded, and it set the standard for me, and also gave this like um, point of reference and like reflection for me. Like, ooh, I'm standing here, and these people are there, and this doesn't really like feel good. Like this doesn't like I'm admiring where those people are.
Hmm.
Um, and that's because where I am is like I'm not really taking care of myself or prioritizing myself or my education. I did do really well in college.
Hmm.
I got really good grades. That was like the first time I ever did really well in school.
Hmm.
But I definitely believe it was because I went there and was surrounded by like-minded people who were where I wanted to be.
Yeah. And was that like, I know it was a conscious decision to do that. You picked that school, but was that because you felt if you went to a party school, it might have got out of control and your grades might have suffered?
Um, I think I subconsciously knew that. I honestly didn't really apply to party schools.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was so long ago and I was in such a different headspace. Like I couldn't tell you for sure if that was like
Sure.
super intentional or if that was more like my soul pulling me to where I needed to go. Um, my dad also went to the school I went to, so there may have been a little bit of that there.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
little sister also graduated from there. Um, so it's kind of cool to have it in the family as well. But it's just a really good school, and I knew that, and I knew it
Hmm.
would feel good
And I
to
guess,
accomplish.
yeah, and I guess like there's, obviously going to a school where people are very academic wise and hardworking, you're
Yeah,
going to brush off on that. So it's a very smart move. So yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And what did
yeah.
you
It
what
was
did you
good.
do? What did you graduate as?
I studied sociology, so basically
Cool.
studying how people work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's ideal. It's ideal for us. So, what was life like after university? Did you get a job in your field, and then
No, so I didn't
no?
go to school for a job. I would say like I studied sociology because I actually really loved it, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just so fascinated to like understand how people work within society.
Hmm.
And I've always been that way, and I still am to this day. Like I'm just always studying people. I was a waitress throughout most of my college years,
Hmm.
and I worked at a really great restaurant. So I stayed there, I think, actually not too long after I graduated. I think I quit right when I graduated. Um, and then I took some time off, and I think that's when COVID hit. Was yeah, I did that right after COVID hit. So
Right, right.
um, I did a lot of like personal assistant work. I nannied.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of bounced around from thing to thing, but it was when did I get sober? In 2020. I graduated college in 2021. So after I got sober, it was like, and this is something I talk about a lot. It's like, like just getting sober isn't going to change your life. Like that's not going to be what like heals everything and makes everything better. So I was like really faced with the reality, like, oh shit, like I have a lot of work to do. And I think I was in a lot of burnout. I was just kind of coming back online from so many years of numbing and hurting my body and abandoning myself. And that's just, I think, a lot to process. And even, it's almost 6 years now and I'm still processing some of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, when did it, like, what do you think your habits became like? Because obviously you were working and still partying at the weekends and things. Like, how did your habits of drinking, was it just a weekend thing or did it become through the week?
It usually had been only the weekends up until probably like the last like year or two. I mean, I think it was really like when I turned 21. So I got sober when I was 23. So I had like two years of legal drinking. And I think when I turned 21, it opened up the doors. I could go to the liquor store and go to the beach with the beer or hard kombucha or something. And it became this very like casual thing. I wasn't someone who was like, getting drunk at home on my own. Like that wasn't what felt good to me. Yeah, it was a lot more of a social thing. And then also just like this addition to my life, right? Like going to the beach, or even like I would always have, I shouldn't say always, but towards the end, I would often have like a drink in my car while I was like driving to places or things like that. I wouldn't say I was like chemically dependent on it so much to where I had to like detox or anything when I stopped, even though I did drink a lot. But it was more of the dependency on the escape or the giving me confidence or making me a little bit more fun or easygoing or whatever, there's lots of,
I mean, that's that kind of, it confuses us and lulls us into that sense that we need it to have a good time. And then it becomes pretty quickly that tool that we use because we're like, oh my God, I'm going to the beach, I'm going to a barbecue, or I'm going to go and see some of my best friends, but I don't know how to interact with them without having at least one or two drinks. And it's like, so you don't have to be, rock bottom. It just is like, well, are you able to function without it? Like I was a functioning alcoholic. I don't call myself that anymore, but I was like, until I wasn't because it ended badly. But like, if you cannot function without the alcohol, that's the opposite. That's not a functioning alcoholic. That's someone that can't function with life,
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, if you're going out, and I was the same as well when I was younger, like if I'm going out with my best friends who know my deepest, darkest secrets, but I can't basically sit and have a conversation with them without having a drink, it's like, what, how has this happened? Do you know what I mean? I should be able to go out and have coffee or a cup of tea and just talk about everything, which, now I realize I can do that and it's the best thing in the world. But back then it was like, no, we need, and they were all doing it as well. That's the thing. So it's scary. Yeah. Totally. So, like, when did it stop being fun, do you think? When did you start realizing that this is something I maybe need to remedy?
I would say, just like trying to think of the timeline. I think like within the last like year of my drinking, like I would say I drank like about like 9 years straight, like pretty heavily and consistently. But yeah, the last year of it, I remember, and I do believe two things. The school I was in was this big, like, contrast. It was like, whoa, like, I can't, like, keep up with all of these people, and I'm struggling to, like, sit down and do my homework and stuff, like, towards the end of it. So that one, and then also, I would say, 3 years or so before I quit, I really started doing, like, work internally on myself. So getting more in touch with myself, my spirituality, my body, really studying myself and how I work and what I need. I did like a lot of meditation, a lot of journaling, a lot of visualizing, just like really getting clear on who I was and what I wanted. And I think as those things became more clear and I had more people around me that were not doing what I was doing, and I could see how like, oh, like when I'm in it here with all these people who are, all of my old community, it's so normal and it seems fun and cool and like whatever. But like these people who are out here and are looking in at my life are like, girlfriend, what is going on? Like, how are you doing this to yourself? How are you tolerating this? And I think that dissonance, that contrast just became so strong in that last year, to where it was just like constant disappointment and constant like going out, like this time I'll only have 2 drinks, waking up the next morning not remembering the night or how I got home. You know, like it was just over and over and over again. And I think my body was rejecting it the whole time, but really towards the end, like I didn't have to drink that much. Like I could have like 4 drinks and be blacked out. Like it was bad. And just doing things that I knew I wouldn't do if I was sober, saying things, being with people I would never be with if I was sober. And like looking back, like now, like my boyfriend now, like he knows my story, but he didn't know me then. And he's like, it's so crazy to think that's how you were then, because you are like so conservative, like you're so, you know. And I'm like, I know. I used to always say it in it while I was in it, like, yeah, like I would never be sleeping with these people or doing these crazy things like if I was sober. And then I just always cannot stick to a limit, and then I'm defeated. So yeah, long story short, the last year.
No, we love that. I mean, my wife, you know, she's never known me as a drinker, and that's just, you know, she's like, sometimes when she hears the stories, or, you know, I did the podcast with her at Christmas so I could get my story out, and we sat and she's like, after, she's like, I just, you know, she's not saying I hate hearing the stories, but she's like, it just doesn't compute that this is the same person that would do these things, and then this is you now. And it's like, it's simple. It's the alcohol, you know. It's not, this isn't who, you know, if you see some, like, say, old drunk on a park bench with a bottle and a brown paper bag, and he's maybe shouting abuse or whatever, it's not him. That's the alcohol that's doing that. I'm sure he's a really sweet guy under all that, but it's like, you know, he just has to get out. It's mad. You know, I'm not saying you were obviously as bad as that, but
no, I get it though. I know
crazy.
I get
Yeah. And this is the other thing, like, so many people out there that think that they're, you know, moderating or just having a bit of a laugh and a party with it, but it changes their character, you know, it does. And it's like, this is like, some people think they're really funny and all the rest of it, and when they're in it, like, the other people around them think they're really funny as well. But if you're standing on the sidelines sober as a judge, you're like, you're not that funny at all, you know. But you were a nice person earlier when you were sober, and now, I'm not saying you're a horrible person, but you've changed, and it's like there's a
but now I'm like a little there. Like I'm a little turned off.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, give me the sober person any day, you know. Like, even we're talking like couple of drinks in, you can tell, and I'm like, yeah, it's time for me to go, kind of thing, you know.
I say that all the time. It's like someone can have one, and it's different for me. Like, I just feel the shift. I'm so attuned to that energy of people, and I think also that's because I grew up in it too. So it's like, I'm very hyper vigilant of it. But yeah, I had someone reach out to me recently and was like, one of my friends like doesn't ever want to come to my parties. He's been sober for like 17 years. He never wants to come to my parties because he thinks like he doesn't like hanging out with drunk people. And I'm like, yeah, because like once you get sober, you realize, and like with no judgment or, you know, I don't mean harm by saying this, but like drunk people are actually like annoying. Like it's not enjoyable to be around. There's this like immaturity, this lack of awareness, this lack of boundaries. And I really do believe it's like someone who's choosing to get sober is really holding themselves to a high standard. And when you are holding yourself to a high standard and you're around people who aren't, there's just not resonance there. Yeah. You don't feel attracted and want to be in that presence because they're disconnected and you're not. So, yeah.
It's a weird one because, like, I do go to parties and events and things like that, but I don't fully enjoy them. I do leave earlier. I don't go to as many as I used to now because I'm just like, you know what, people stop listening to you after a while. I'd rather go out and have a coffee with a few good mates and just sit and get really into the conversation, really deep, and set the worlds to right and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, you know, they're just waiting for you to stop talking so that they can tell you something that's completely unrelated to what you've just said. And it's like, you know, but they haven't actually listened to you. And I'm not saying everyone's like that, but it is that whole disconnect. And I think like a lot of people might think, oh my God, we're drinking around him, he's going to be triggered. I am so far from being triggered by alcohol now. It's unbelievable. Like I literally said my goodbyes a long time ago, and I'm not being triggered by it. It's just I don't want to be around drunk people because they're boring, man. Like they call us boring. It's like really, they're the bores. And like all to all my drinking friends, I do apologize. I'm not calling you boring. I'm just saying I'd rather speak to you when you're sober. But that's
Totally. There's a different level of depth.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long
Well,
have you been sober again?
5.5 years now.
Awesome. Same.
Oh yeah. So what's your sober date? We'll get to how you get sober in a bit. But yeah, what's your sober date?
It's July 8th, 2020.
2020. So you just beat me by, I was 19th of August, 2020.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we both got sober in the summer of COVID, which is unbelievable. Like I had, who was I talking to? Ashley Howard, and she was just saying like how in awe she was of people that got sober during COVID, especially that first summer when it was like it was beautiful weather for you all the time, but over here we were locked down.
That was horrific.
The sunshine was just everybody was having a good time, and it was a lot of people. Their drinking ramped up in that time. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, it did for the first like 5 months for me, and then I had to be with myself too much, and that was the kicker.
Well, I was when the UK went into the first lockdown, I was over there, and I went into rehab. 3 days later, we went into lockdown. So I was in a rehab facility when lockdown happened, which was just absolute madness. Yeah. It was a crazy time. But I came out of there, relapsed, and then relapsed, and it was just a horrible beginning part of the summer. And then I think about July, I moved over here, and then went out a couple of times, and then eventually I got my last detox. And wow, you just got your 2000 days as well.
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
Was that like when you went into treatment, right when COVID happened? Was that the first time you like really tried to commit to it, or?
No, no. That was like I'd never admitted that there was. I'd never admitted to myself that there was a problem. I knew I had to stop drinking, but possibly only for a short period of time. Like, so when I give up for like a couple of weeks, or maybe, I don't think I even did a month, like maybe 3 weeks, I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, oh my God, this hasn't killed you. You're looking fine. You're okay. You can drink again. And this little voice would be telling me, and then I would go and have a drink. And I probably wasn't even thinking that I would moderate, but I would just think, my drinking's okay, and then I would just get completely, and it wasn't like I would get completely drunk, pass out, belligerent. That did happen, but it was more the consistency of it. It became every day as soon as I had another drink, and it would become a morning thing as soon as I had another drink. Like I got to that point at the end where it didn't matter, but I couldn't see from the outside that I was an alcoholic. You know, I didn't. And then when I went to rehab, I started learning, and I started, having counselors and telling us this is basically where you're at and all that. And I was like, oh, okay. You hear it in movies and like people going to AA and all that. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not one of them. I'm just got a few issues at the moment. I'm dealing with it. And then I was like, actually, yeah, do you know what? I don't know how to do this on my own, so I need help.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
So what did you... Like, what you didn't have a kind of rock bottom moment or anything like that? What was the kind of final straw for you for that date?
I mean, I would say like how do I say it? Like within like who I am and my level of sensitivity, I would say I've hit a rock bottom. I would just say my rock bottom isn't as intense as a lot of other people's rock bottom, just because.
But if it's a rock bottom for you, then it's a rock bottom.
Emotionally,
absolutely.
Mentally, it was definitely a rock bottom. Like I said, like the last year or so is when it really started to like be clear, like, okay, like this isn't working. And with school, like my school is hard. It's hard school to get into. It's not easy to do well. And I kept noticing like I'm falling behind. So that last year, I think I took like a few different breaks, like maybe 1 month, maybe like a month and a half. And I remember every time I did like I would still like go out with my friends because we would go out like Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, sometimes even Sunday if there was something going on, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I would still go out, and I would remember like coming home and feeling like, oh my God, like that was so cool. Like I was so like confident and like the guy I like I was able to be so like not just like a little, you know, just all over him, just like totally hold my ground and have boundaries with myself and all. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember just feeling like, wow, that felt so good. And then I'm like coming home and I'm able to just like be cozy and go to bed and not wake up feeling like crap.
Yeah.
But there was never the thought of like, oh, I'm going to get sober. Like that was never an intention. It was more like, oh, I just want to do this more often. Like I just want to like let myself go out sober sometimes. But unless I was taking that break, I would never do it. Like I just couldn't. Like it was like that's so much less fun, even though I knew in a sense like it was actually more fun when I did, and more rewarding. And but yeah, so I took a few breaks that last year, and I remember when I went back after the last one, I think this was, I'm trying to remember, I think it was when I had to take a medical leave from school because I was so depressed. And I was drinking a ton. I had like a rock bottom night where I lost my phone. It was literally like in a ditch in like this party town in my school, like in the middle, like right off a freeway. My friends thought I was like lying in a ditch because that Find My iPhone was there.
Yeah, sure.
I was in some stranger's bed, had no idea who he was or how I got there. No phone, trying to figure out how to get picked up, and it was just like such a low. And I remember I went to my mom's and I just was like, I have to do something. Like I can't, like I need help. I need to do something. But for me, like there was this, like I said, I had been doing a lot of like internal work on myself and kind of getting clear on how that stuff works. And there was just this deep knowing of like, it's not about the alcohol for me. Like for some people it is, like they have like a legitimate chemical dependency on there, but like I could not drink and be fine. Right? Like I would go out sober and I would enjoy it so much. So it wasn't like I needed
more,
it. Yeah. So I was like, I knew it wasn't about the alcohol. And so part of me was like, okay, I could go into like rehab, into treatment, but my therapist at the time, and I don't even know if I was seeing her at the time, but like within that last year or so, she would consistently talk about this place called Rogers Behavioral Health, which is a pretty well-known behavioral health center in the United States. And they've been very successful with helping people with depression, anxiety, OCD. And so I just kind of thought about that, and I was like, you know, I kind of want to look into that and see, because I do know like the reason that I want to drink so much is because I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm, you know, it's not because I love alcohol. Like I don't actually love alcohol. And my body definitely doesn't love it.
It's like a means to an end, isn't it? Because, you know, I was the same, and it's like what came first, like my depression or the alcoholism, but like they both go hand in hand. It's like, you know, the more you feed the depression with alcohol, the more your depression builds. And, you know, people don't really see that. Like I went to the doctors, and it was just the start of 2020. And I went in at 11 a.m. because I wasn't working, and I must have been stinking of booze. And the doctor just gave me pills and said, right, see you later. You know, and it was like, they don't tell you that the pills don't work if you're still drinking. And I was drinking like, you know, a bottle of vodka a day. And it was like, but as soon as I stopped drinking, I took the pills religiously. Like, and then when I got sober, the pills actually started working. But then I was like, well, hang on, I felt good and I felt happy. And I was like, but am I happy because of the pills or happy because I'm not drinking anymore? And slowly I came off the pills, and yeah, you know what? I'm all right. I'm happy. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's something a lot of people will never do or have a really hard time doing. So I celebrate you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was on like ADHD medication starting since I was like 19. That made my anxiety just excruciating, and it was almost like I didn't even realize that was why. But same thing mixed, like so high strung from the ADHD medication. And then it's like, oh, well, let me drink and like lower that. Right. And so it was like this balancing out all the time. But but yeah, I also I'm very natural, like I'm very holistic, so I don't like to take prescription medications if I don't have to. And I kind of always felt that's okay, like even though, yeah, like these kind of help me like get stuff done or whatever, have energy, focus, I also know it's like, once again, just like the alcohol, like the trade-off isn't worth it for me because I feel like shit. So yeah, I decided that I wanted to go into treatment for my depression and anxiety. I also like picked my skin really bad, especially during that time. And I thought that was like an OCD thing or something like that. And so I went into that treatment. I remember I checked in December 31st of 2019. So I spent my first New Year's Eve. I went out to like this whole big party thing, and it was sober, and I was like, whoa, but it was really fun. I had a really good time. And I kind of did that intentionally. Like I liked that I was starting not on New Year's, but like the day before kind of thing. And I've actually done that throughout my life with different things of like, don't try to like set this like certain special date or whatever, just like do it, because there's almost so I did that. It was 2.5 months long. It absolutely like transformed my social anxiety, my general anxiety. We didn't really work on my depression, but I think that was more fueled by the anxiety because I just felt so much better, and I had to be completely sober. So like I couldn't even have like CBD, like nothing like that. So I was fully just present. And I remember driving there every day because I'd be there for like 6 hours a day. I would be listening to a book. I was listening to Finding Ultra by Rich Roll. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but
I've heard of it. I haven't read it, but yeah.
Super good book. And I just remember feeling like, wow, like I'm like absorbing this and I'm like so into it. And I just like, and it was this experience I'd like never had before. It almost felt like maybe since I was a little kid reading a book, you know? And I just wanted to keep listening to it, and it was so, so good. And I just remember that feeling very vividly of the drive there. But I lasted that 2.5 months, like completely sober. That was the longest I'd ever gone without alcohol. And I remember being like, okay, well, you know, like, I think I'm like good to like drink again, because I didn't go there to get sober, right? Like I went there and I'm like, oh yeah, well maybe if I healed all these things, you know, then I can drink and I'll be fine. But I very quickly like fell back into it. I remember I went to a music festival with my roommate, and it was fun. Like I said, I always had fun, but it was also like, I think it was the weekend or the week after the music festival was when everything shut down. So it was like the last big thing that happened, and then everything shut down. And then, you know, for me with my job, I didn't have to work and I was just getting paid. So I was just at home, which I would say one part of that was the biggest blessing for me, because that was the first time my nervous system just got to be still. And I actually got to like sit with myself and like really like be with everything. I would say that was like one of the most pivotal moments of my life for me, like that period of time, because I think I had been going for so long and feeling so stressed. And it was like this, I know a lot of people would resent me for saying this, but it's just like, it was like this gift from God of like, you can like just be still for a little bit. And yeah, so that was really beautiful. But at the same time, being with myself while I'm also drinking a lot, and where like, you know, my house was the house where people would come and we would all hang out, and it was just this constant thing. And I, you know, so that lasted because that was in March. So that lasted for 5 months. And I honestly just had an evening like where I had a coworker who really looked up to me, and like she really struggled with drinking too, and she would always call me her role model and all of that. And I knew she would go out drinking with me, so I asked her to go out drinking with me. It was a Tuesday night to go Taco Tuesday, and she met up with me, and I don't even remember. I remember having like 2 or 3 drinks and then don't remember anything, lost my phone, didn't remember getting home. She drove me home drunk. I let her do that. Like, and it was just this whole morning of like such this intense, like, I can never feel like this again. Like it was so strong. Like it was so, and it wasn't about the alcohol. It was just like, I can't pretend I'm like this one person and then be showing up as this person, because this person is like so out of integrity and so out of alignment with who I am truly and who I know I like want to become. So yeah, like that was July 8th, 2020. And I've not looked back since. I've never wanted it again. Never craved it. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Amazing. Well done, Jess. I mean, that's the thing. So you just had like what they call, I think, spontaneous sobriety.
Yeah, pretty rare.
But you'd done a lot of the work beforehand. You know, you tried these sober nights and you thought, yeah, that's where it's at. You know, I'm having much more fun. I'm able to talk to people a bit more freely and better. And I know what's going on, and I'm not having all that shame and horror the next day. And but then you're doing the spiritual stuff as well. So it's almost like that out of body experience where you're looking down on the person going, that person's not holding my values anymore. So it's like you have to do that kind of splice between the two characters. So well done you for recognizing that and doing it before. Like, you know, I'm not saying that it would have got as bad as me, but chances are that it might have done. You know, if it was already acting that way, it's a danger, you know?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, like with the way that I was behaving and the things I was doing, even right now, I'm so grateful I'm alive. Honestly, such horrible things could have happened to me, and something was protecting me, and I know that very much. But if I had kept going, I may not be here.
Just that time when you're saying that your phone was at the side of the road in a ditch and you were woke up in a stranger's house, and it's like, you know, I'm sure he was a nice guy, but he might not have been, you know, that's the danger. And it's like, you know, it happens, unfortunately, too often that people are in bars, and I know people are putting things in their drinks, but you know what? It's like, if somebody put something in your drink when you were kind of stone cold sober, you would notice it much more quicker than if you were inebriated, you know. And I'm not saying that, you know, people shouldn't drink because of that. I'm just saying, like, it's a danger, you know, and you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position when you're already in a vulnerable position, you know. And that's
totally. Yeah. It was, I definitely, I risked my life in a lot of ways, and my body, and I'm so lucky to be where I'm at, and to not have had something really horrible happen to me. I mean, I would say I had a lot of sexual trauma and abuse, so that's something that I did deal with a lot throughout, from teenage to basically when I quit drinking. But in the grand scheme of things, like, I'm able to process that and move through it and own it, take responsibility for my part, and just see it very clearly. And I'm still alive and well, and I'm not totally traumatized, you know, as some people could be with that kind of thing. So,
absolutely.
Let me pause one moment, because my computer is going to die. I just need to plug it in real quick.
Yeah, of course.
I should have done that beforehand, but
no, it's good. I was on with a guy the other week, and he was doing it off his phone, and we got to the end. We're nearly finished, and he said, I've got 1% on my phone, and I was like, Jesus, we're gonna have to do the quick fire last little questions. And literally, we were saying goodbye, and then his phone went, and I was like, why didn't you plug it in? Do you know what I mean? But anyway. Like, he was like, I've got 1%, as if to say there's no power in the house, you know, this is the last 1% we've got, and then it's gone. So
sometimes our brains are a little slower, maybe.
Well, yeah, exactly. So who do you think you were without alcohol?
Like, who do I think I became, kind of, without alcohol?
Yeah, like, do you think that alcohol is such a huge part of your life that then you became someone different, or you know, did you? Yeah.
I mean, when I was drinking, I had such low standards for myself, no boundaries, took what I could get, kind of thing, in all areas of my life. And I just feel like now like, how do I articulate it? Like, I've just like reclaimed my power. I see things very clearly. I have very high standards, maybe to my detriment sometimes. But I just know what I want. I know what I can tolerate, and I'm so sensitive. And now that I'm not numbing that part, I'm way more sensitive. And so I just honor that. And I have a very small circle. I am very close with my family. I just really value like genuine, deep connection. I don't surround myself with people who are partying like that. I've had to disconnect from friends who are still partying like that, people I love dearly. And yeah, I think just allowing all of the things that are no longer resonant and the people, the places to fall away. It's created a lot of space. And at first, I think that felt like very lonely and like kind of confusing and disorienting. But now, like something I really think about is like when you're drinking like that, like you don't even know what peace feels like. Like you don't know what like stillness feels like. And, you think it's like boring or whatever, but it's really like, it's what our bodies need. And like most people, even if they're not drinking, but most people don't give that to themselves. And I think it's really like allowed me to just let myself be.
Mm-hmm.
And
being true to yourself.
Yeah. And that's another big thing is like for so long, also like being late diagnosed neurodivergent, like realizing, wow, I was like totally just putting on a show to like fit in with people and to be liked and to not step on people's toes and a multitude of things. But yeah, it's also really stepping into who I really am and honoring that and loving that and knowing that being able to be all of who you are, like out loud, letting yourself be seen, even coming online with this stuff that's newer for me in the last year. It's going to attract the people that resonate with you. It's going to align you with the opportunities that resonate with you, that actually excite you, that actually move you further along on the path you want to move down. And so, yeah, I think it's changed everything for me. It's just allowed me to see the parts of myself that I was avoiding and I was numbing and I was disconnecting from and that I was scared of even, and just love each and every one of those as time goes on and nurture it and realize that, yeah, like there was nothing wrong with me. There's just, I am a certain way and I'm different and I'm not for everyone. I'm not. None of us are.
It's embracing that. And I think, like, going back to what you're saying, like, when I got sober, it was like, I got myself a little cottage in the hills over here. And, like, I just I became a hermit almost for, like, the first year. Like, I was seeing people from the meetings because I went to meetings and I was doing that. I seen my family. So I did have a social life. But, like, I got rid of my TV and I just enjoyed the space and the time that I had learning who I was again, that quietness, because sometimes I wouldn't even have music on. I certainly didn't have like a TV on or anything like that. Just sit and read a book and just be with myself. Do you know what I mean? And that, like, I think a lot of people, drinkers or non-drinkers, are so guilty because we have so many distractions, like, yeah, my phone was there, but I'd come off of social media right at the beginning. And even then, like, I didn't have people messaging me all the time, so I could just put my phone down and just leave it for, hours at a time. And it was just nice to do that. But I think we live in a society where there's so many distractions, whether it be TV, your phone is constantly pinging. And even if it's not, you're picking it up and you're scrolling and you're doing this and you're doing that. And it's like, no, just stop all that and just be, and learn who you are. Because I think for me, a lot of my drinking stemmed from, like you were saying earlier, the noise in my head. And that was a distraction. That was to get rid of that noise because I was scared of what thoughts were going through my head. We're not talking like dark, nefarious thoughts. It was just a constant buzz and a constant noise.
Chatter.
And yeah. And then once you learn that that's okay, because that's you, it's like, once you learn to love that, it's like, okay, this is actually all right. It takes a while. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. But I think we're all guilty of just constantly like feeding that beast that wants the noise there, and we're like, I want to shut that out, you know.
Yeah.
It's
And stop,
scary,
stop
but
judging it.
yeah, absolutely. So how did you start getting into what you're doing now? Because you do like one-to-ones, and you've got the podcast as well. So yeah, tell us a bit about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I started doing this work probably about 7 or 8 months ago now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a guess. So I also own a professional organizing business, so I do that part time as well. So I do both.
Cool.
I'm kind of transferring over to this because this is, though I love that, this is more like my heart and like passion,
Yeah.
and I feel like where I can truly be of service to people. I started the podcast just about the same time. It's called Sexier Sober. It actually
Mm-hmm.
started with a different name until I found out it was trademarked, so that was a sad to transition it. But
Yeah.
it's still, I love it. I enjoy dropping in that way. I think it's a cool way to just speak and share what you want to share, and it doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
in a caption or a talking head video or something like that. It feels a little more intimate. I
Mm-hmm.
know like
Mm-hmm.
some of my favorite podcasts, it's like really cool because you kind of like really get to know the person and you feel really connected to the person, especially if you resonate with them. And yeah, I do one-on-ones. I do a 6-month container, or sorry, excuse me, 3-month container, where basically we just work on identities and belief systems and really getting clear on the vision you want for your life. There's a no alcohol commitment in there, and it's just this container to be safely led into who you really are and to
Mm-hmm.
really commit to that version of you. So that I really love. I'm a very like intimate person, so I love the one-on-ones. I love
Yeah.
dropping in with
Yeah.
people. I love listening and hearing their story and being able to kind of read between the lines and underneath the emotional currents of what they say and just be able to pull things out that they might not see otherwise,
Yeah.
just being doing it on their own. And then I also have a monthly membership container that's going to be dropping soon. So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be more for a group setting because I just had this like download of like, I want to bring women together. And I'm even sitting with maybe men too. That keeps popping up in my head because I do have a lot of men who are also like really like, I love your content. It's really helping me, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to limit myself yet. I've always had a great connection with men. I've always like been good friends with men, all and boys, since a child. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting with that, but it'll be dropping in the next month or so.
Cool.
And that
Cool.
will basically be more of a community based thing. I'll be leading it, but it's where people can kind of come together, share their stories, hear other people's stories, and then have guidance on kind of taking next steps to kind of shift those stories and their belief
Yeah.
systems into ones that are actually going to move them forward. And the main goal for anyone I'm working with is to have this experience of effortless sobriety. And I don't
Oh.
mean that in the sense of like the experience of being sober is easy because it's not. You have to feel everything and you have to
Yeah.
be with everything and there's no escape. But more in the sense of that you genuinely don't even want alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
Um, because I think the way that my journey went and how I not even intentionally went through it, but just really doing work on myself, getting clear on what I wanted, it actually just led me to this point where I never even had to like try to quit drinking. It was just like one day I woke up and was like, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
This doesn't work, and to have never even remotely looked back or wanted it again or anything like that, I think is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I know everyone's journey is different, but I do feel in my heart if people can get really clear on that piece first, the letting go of alcohol just becomes a byproduct of the process,
Yeah.
because you just have a standard for your life that it doesn't meet anymore. It doesn't
Yeah.
serve.
Because the like obviously I was physically dependent, but once that's out your system, it takes like 4 or 5 days, it's gone. Then it's the mental obsession, but you can
Right.
change that, you can rewire that. And the thing is, like when I was going to NA, AA, and all of these, like there's some old timers there that were like, you could tell they're still struggling. They still want a drink, but they're going to their meetings because
Yeah.
that's what keeps them sober. And I'm like, no, you need to be working on the bit that is still hankering after that drink, because you know your life is better without it. So why are you
Yeah.
still, and it does take time. Like, it didn't happen for me until maybe about a year or two in, but once it happened, I was like, and it probably happened earlier, but I hadn't clocked it yet because I was still doing the meetings. But then I was like, you know what, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not actually bothered about it anymore. Like, I'll walk down the booze aisle, I'll walk into a pub. I don't go to pubs because, you know what, there's nothing for me in there. But like, I could go in and people could like put whiskey or vodka under my nose. It's I'm not gonna be bothered by that. I'm not triggered by it. But I think what you're doing is amazing, because it's getting people to that part earlier, because
Yeah.
people just can go through their life and go, yeah, I'm sober, I've been sober 20 years, and it's like, but are you actually sober? Are you actually still not triggered by alcohol? And that thing does take time, because rewiring the kind of neural pathways in your brain is tough, but you've got to
Really.
find other things, and I think a lot of people, like yourself earlier, you're saying that you cut off yourself from a lot of friends. That's important, because it can still be triggering in early days as well for people that are still going to these things just sober. And I'm like, yeah, that works for some people, but for me at the beginning, nah, I couldn't do that. I needed to cut myself off.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you are who you surround yourself with. So I do think like
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're staying and that's I think AA is an amazing thing and I think it works for so many people and I don't
Hmm.
uh, shut it down for any reason. But something I do see in that is that you are still focused on the alcohol. And I remember I had an experience. This was before I ever wanted to quit drinking. I was actually doing my first like personal development workshop, and anyone who had like issues with alcohol had to go to an AA meeting. And so we went to an AA meeting. I think I was 18, and it was pretty much all older men.
Mhm.
And I just remember, like some like 75, 80-year-old man being like, I'm Bob and I'm an alcoholic. And I still remember that moment because I remember like, wow, you haven't, and he hadn't drinking in 40 years or something,
Mm.
right? And I'm like, that's wild. That's wild that you still keep yourself in that identity and doing the work I have and the research I have, it's like makes it so clear. It's like your language is so powerful. It's like what you focus on grows. And if you are staying an alcoholic forever, of course you're going to want the alcohol because you're telling yourself that story that you are
Yeah.
someone who is forever going to need alcohol. And I just don't believe that's necessarily true. And so, yeah, I think those spaces can be beneficial to get you sober and stuff. But I do think that they keep people surrounded by alcohol and
Yeah.
that feeling of needing it,
Hmm.
and doesn't really allow them to let go of the identity and become someone new.
Yeah.
I
Because I
just think
think they
it's
are
limiting.
that was kind of, and do you know what, like the fellowship, did amazing things for me and helped me get sober and stay sober right at the beginning, so I'm never gonna put them down. But I like what you say, like it is something that helps at the beginning, but then for
Yeah.
me, like we went into a mini lockdown and we had to take one of the meetings outside. We went to the park and we did all the readings and all that. We did the meeting there and it was great, but I was like reading the big book and all that, and it was like, if you don't get to a meeting, you're going to relapse. And I was like thinking this in my head, I was like, what happens if we can't get to the meetings? What if it's like winter time and we're not going to go to the park and we can't get in the rooms? And I was like, I need to start breaking free from that and working on like the next phase of my recovery, because I don't want to be dependent on another thing. I was dependent on alcohol. Now am I going to be dependent on meetings? And that's like, and I know not everyone is like that, and they love the meetings and it's community and it's social and all that. But for me, I was like, I don't want to be dependent on it. I need to start building my own recovery. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, because I think also being, in a community, I think community is so important in sobriety, so not knocking that down, but in a community of other people who are all connecting on the fact that they're alcoholics and that they're always going to be that way. It's
yeah,
almost like in the same way as like quitting drinking. It's almost like weird to be like, well, I don't think I'm going to be this way forever. Like
yeah,
you almost aren't right. So it's like you kind of either you stay in it and you keep telling yourself that story and telling everyone that story, or you choose to move forward from it and move on from it and decide that you get to be a whole new person, and that doesn't have any hold on you. So I think that's really beautiful that you made that decision for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. It was just,
yeah, it allows for a lot of growth.
I needed to, like, I know I'm pretty much 100%. If I went out and had a drink tomorrow, it wouldn't take long before I was back to where I was. And that's the neural pathways. They're still always going to be there. But all I need to not do is not drink. And, you know, and that's pretty easy at this point. You know, like, I know there's going to be trauma in my life and this, that, and the other. But like I've said, you know, like, God forbid anything, God forbid everything happens to, you know, family or anything like that. I'm not going to, you know, disrespect their memory by turning back to the booze, because what's it going to do? It's not going to change anything, and it's not going to make anything better, you know?
Yeah, it's like at this point, your body, not just your mind, but your body is so clear that like that is not going to help the situation. Like it will not help.
Like I think they said that that's what killed Amy Winehouse, because she'd had such a long time sober. I think she'd done like at least 3 months, maybe longer. And then she had a relapse and she went back to it as hard as she did before. Like, we're talking a bottle of vodka. And then she just got alcoholic poisoning and it killed her. And it's like, you know, it's so sad that your brain tells you that you need to drink what you used to drink. It's like, if I had a low alcohol beer tonight, I would be shit faced, you know, because I've like not had the same with you. We've not had drink in 5.5 years. It's absolute madness. So, Jess, what surprised you most about sober life?
I would say one of the biggest like surprises was like, well, like starting with the expectation, like, oh, well, if I get sober, like everything's just gonna magically be better. And I think it was like, oh wait, stop, holy shit. Nothing is better really, other than the fact that I'm not hungover and like feeling like shit. But it's like everything that I've been avoiding, everything that I've been numbing, everything that I've been scared of and like pretending wasn't there and suppressing, all has just like come alive and come online, and I don't have anywhere to go. Like I have to be with it. I have to face it. And like, I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of sobriety, because that's where you actually heal. That's where you actually get to grow and move forward. And people will literally keep drinking for the rest of their life so that they never have to face that. So I think a lot of people think like, because I'll see it, you know, I don't see too much from other people other than people who are talking directly to me. And I don't really talk about this, but I see a lot of people who are like, oh, I've been sober for 2 months and I feel like shit. Like, what's the point of this? You know, like I don't feel, and it's like, that's because you think like, oh, just taking the alcohol away is going to fix anything. And like, no, the alcohol is just keeping you like allowing you to avoid the things that you do need to address. It's not actually helping you with anything. It's not actually, you know, and it's not the problem. Like it's a symptom of the problem, and it's something you're using to avoid facing the problem. But the problem is like what's inside your body and your heart and your mind and all of those beliefs and a lot of trauma for people. I think that's a big one that just feels so overwhelming to look at, not even consciously. So you're choosing something that allows you to pretend it's not there. So yeah, I think that was probably the biggest surprise of like, whoa, like I was expecting things to just, and I wouldn't even say right away. Like, I think it took a little while for all that stuff to really, you know, like I would say the first few years of my sobriety were extremely like emotional and intense and like a lot of being with myself and crying and like I have so many videos because I video journal quite a bit of me just like sobbing, and I'm sober, you know, but it's like, because I'm
You're dealing with
actually
stuff
starting to feel everything, and hear everything, and like, so
it's like
it was, and like in COVID too, so there was like a lot of presence with myself.
Well, it was like we didn't know what was going on. It was like 1 minute we're in lockdown, the next minute we're doing this, and then our government is lying to us, and it's like, oh Jesus Christ! I don't know how. You know, like I've said this before, like people are going, oh my God, COVID's worst thing. And, you know, I'm obviously like devastated for the amount of people that we lost during that time and this, that, and the other. But COVID actually, you know, I think got me sober. You know, I don't know what I'd have been doing
Same.
if I'd been out there
Same.
drinking, and it's madness. But what you were saying before, like having to, like, suddenly thinking there's this magical pill. It's like, I was just thinking, it's almost like, you know, if your house has been flooded out and you've managed to get the water and it's subsided and it's gone back to the river or whatever, the house is still wrecked. Do you know what I mean? The water's gone, but everything is still flood damaged, and you've got to either repair that or fix it or replace it and rebuild your home again, you know, because the water went away a long time ago, but you're not going to do it overnight, you know, and it's going to
I
take
love that
time, but
analogy.
actually what you replace it with and fix it with better is going to be, you know, better than you had before. So, yeah.
Totally. Yeah, there's like that, I think it's like a Japanese term. I'm not going to know the name of it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when they break the vase and they glue it all
The
back together and it's
golden,
actually stronger and more beautiful than it was before. It's very true.
there'll be people
And
screaming at us when they're listening to this going, "It's this!" And I know
yeah,
what you
right.
mean, but I can't remember right now. You know, it's kind of late in the day.
I could
Um,
try, but I would probably totally butcher it. So,
well,
like,
exactly. I know I'm going to come out with something else, and it's not going to be the right thing. Yeah. What role do you think alcohol still plays in society, Jess?
mm, ooh, there's quite a few there. I mean, I think it disconnects us from the truth.
Yeah.
I think it's used by people in power in that way. Big alcohol, I think, is a total bullshit industry, and I think that it is killing a lot of people. It's driving a lot of people in a direction they wouldn't go otherwise.
It's a huge
And
legal cartel in my mind,
absolutely,
and the government
and
backs
it's
it, you know?
yeah, and I think it keeps people on the surface. It like something I notice is like, you know, where I live, and I'm sure where a lot of people live, it's similar, but like where I live is very like high end and people have a lot of money, and but alcohol is still such a core part of like, oh, they're going to the breweries with their kids, and oh, going to Taco Tuesday, and it's just always everything revolves around alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And something I think of is like, gosh, like I've been here my whole life, San Diego, and here specifically the last 10 years, and I think I can't wait because like I definitely feel drawn to go travel and live somewhere else outside of this country.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to find a place where that's not the central focus because I know that exists. And I just don't value the same things
Yeah.
that people who have that type of lifestyle value. And it's not that anything's wrong with them, and many of them are successful and happy and all of that. Because a lot of people don't necessarily have drinking problems. I also think a lot of people do and don't realize it. But for me, I think, yeah, it's just creating a society that's focused on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost touch with what's truly important. And kind of like our ancestral roots of nature and family and connection and community, and everyone is so disconnected and isolated. It's really sad. So yeah, I look forward to hopefully landing somewhere where that's a little bit different.
I would say don't come to the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't actually live in the UK. I live in the Isle of Man. There's a big drinking culture here as well, but the UK's got a massive drinking culture. It's just,
Yeah.
and I
I
think
think a lot of Europe.
most European cities do. It's like, you know, obviously there are places where you can go and it's not, but like every little village, you know, over here in the UK, the central point of the village is a pub. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this
yeah.
is like their social hub, and it's quite scary. But you know, where do you go? Do you go really far, kind of east, and you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
crazy.
I'd probably be somewhere that's a little less populated, a little more
Yeah,
remote,
yeah,
um, somewhere where people are really healthy, so driven by health. Like somewhere that I have been where, like, yes, drinking still exists there, but it's not at all a focus, and you can just tell and feel it by being around and being in town. Costa Rica is one of those places.
yeah.
Um, People, and I've been there quite a few times. Like, every time I go there, I don't know if I would live there, but every time I go there, I'm like, oh, it's just so cool. Like, that's not what people care about here. People care about like their health and like taking care of their bodies and like understanding the land and natural foods and natural health and all of that. And so I do think those places exist. They're a lot more rare.
Of course. Well, there's little communities. A friend of mine that was on the podcast, Amy Devine, she lives down in Peru actually, and she does breath work, and she's living in like a little community. Now there is pot smokers and things like that in the community, but actually, you know, there's no, like, there are other places in Peru where there's these little communities and there is drug problems in there because people are bringing meth and things like that. But where hers is, like, there are a few dope smokers, but that's it, you know, and it's just I'm not saying, I don't think the entire village is sober. People can bring beers to their own thing, but it's not how the society down there kind of communicates with each other. That's something they do in their own home. The rest of it is just a bit of a kind of hippie commune, you know, and she just absolutely loves it. But I think, you know, they shut everything like that down in the 60s. You know, I know there was a lot of drugs involved in that, but people were trying to get back to nature. They were trying to kind of expand their minds and things like that. And the governments were just like, let's shut this shit down because we don't want it. We want people to be numb, stupid, and not rising up because we're about to do some really heinous stuff. Look what they're doing at the moment. Like, I know we're not going to here to talk about politics, but I think keeping society drunk and numb is really good for them. But also what's coming out now is people's anger, because alcohol, let's be honest, it's an angry drug, and people are just picking sides at the moment, and the divide is becoming wider, and people are just getting angrier and angrier with each other. And I think alcohol is fueling it, you know, because what are people doing if they're not happy and they're not, you know, fulfilled in their life, and they're like angry at what's going on? They're just going home and they're getting the booze in, you know, because it's an easy.
I think alcohol is like definitely one of the most dangerous drugs. Like when you mentioned pot smoking, like, I'm like, it can be dangerous. I think overconsumption can be dangerous.
Of course.
But there's a reason why they vilified it so much, because I also think it opens people's minds and it helps people see things in a different way. I used to be a pot smoker.
The same with like LSD and things like that, you know, and psilocybin, like, you know, that was, they did research on that.
Things that help you see.
And they're using that to combat, like, you know, anxiety, depression, all these types of things, you know. I know, I'm not sure I fancy tripping out again, but you know, I know that other people are using it to kind of help it. And I think these are
I've like microdosed a little mushrooms, and like just a microdose, I'm like, this doesn't feel like a microdose. I'm so sensitive, so I'm just like, I don't think I can do stuff like that anymore.
There was a time and a place for that for me, but I think that's the thing. People are like, you know, they're finding different uses for all these. I'm sure cocaine's probably not got any use at all apart from numbing your face, but like the fact that alcohol is, I think it's now the biggest killer for men, and I think this is globally, between the ages of I think it's 19 and 49. And obviously there's lots of complications in that, but suicide is a massive factor in that, and alcohol is a massive factor in suicide because people aren't dealing with what's going on and they're numbing it with the alcohol, and then the alcohol is probably what pushes them over the edge at the last minute. So this is one of the biggest killers. 3 million people died last year due to alcohol in the world, and it's like, why is it still illegal? And I'm not saying, you know, we're going to go back to prohibition and outlaw it, but I'm just saying, like, let's start working with this problem here. Well, I wouldn't be against it. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to bother me in my life, but I know there's going to be massive uproar about that. But it's like, you know what? Like, people are still allowed to smoke and they're still allowed to drink, and those are the two biggest killers. It's mad.
I think there's an agenda with it, and I think people are waking up to it a little more now. Like, I think it's so cool. Like when we got sober, it wasn't really like trendy. Like, it wasn't like people were like, "Woo, so cool." It's kind of like, "Oh, interesting." Like, I kind of wish I could do that, but like, nah. But now it's like a movement, you know, and it's people are really waking up to why people. It's not just to be like better than other people or just to be healthier. It's like there's a whole reason that they want us to drink, and they push it so hard. And when you wake up to that and see that, you can like actually remove yourself from being in the matrix in that way. Honestly, that's
exactly the word I use, because it's like taking the blue pill, I think, or the red pill in the matrix. And now it's like my eyes are wide open, and it's like, you know, I used to say, oh, it's going to go the same way as smoking. So maybe like 10, 15 years. Nah, man, it's going to be 5 years. Because I was thinking today, 5 years time, well, not even 5 years time, 4 years time, we're going to be in 2030. That's scary enough in itself. But like, I think it's going to be that soon a time, because when we got sober in 2020 to now, the community's grown. They're now saying that Gen Z doesn't really drink at all. Big alcohol is losing money. It's like nosediving. So I reckon like 4 or 5 years time, by the time we get to 2030, alcohol is going to be going the same way as smoking. So I just say to people, like, get on this train now, you know, get off that train wreck that you're already on, because, you know, what happens if in another 5 years time, you know, my friends are like turning 50 and whatnot, and they're like starting to get these little illnesses. And I'm like, you know what? This is probably related to alcohol, because it's a carcinogen. It's not doing you any good. And it's like, you know, just wake up, people. Wake the F up.
Yeah, and like the longer you wait, the louder your body's gonna speak.
Yeah.
Like your body doesn't like it the first time you had it, but like if you keep doing it over and over again, you know, people get sick and then they don't think it's because of the alcohol. They think it's, oh, because I'm eating this thing, or, oh, it's in my genes, my family has cancer. It's like, no, it's probably because you've been drinking for the last 20 years.
Exactly. And that's
Like,
the thing. It's like, you know, they say like, oh, it's just a little bit, it's not doing me any harm. But they found, I think last year, the US, you know, scientists said there literally is no safe level of drinking now. It's not like, oh, one a day won't hurt you. It's just, no, it's not safe at all. And obviously drinking less will reduce, but it doesn't mean it's a zero harm, you know?
Yeah, I watched a video of a woman saying, like, I'm gonna butcher this, but basically, like, if you were to measure the safety of alcohol like you would a legal drug, basically, like the legal amount that would be okay was something like, I want to say it was less than a shot.
Oh, like the legal amount of alcohol, not legal, but the safe amount of alcohol that you can consume over a year is 250 mil of wine. Now, that's not one glass a year. That's like how much, because I don't know what that'd be a day. It'd be like a micron or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like 250 mil over a year. It's not even a mil a day. It's
crazy. Yeah.
So, and I don't think
it's just
even that is safe.
We're so blind to that.
Yeah.
We're so taught otherwise, and that's because it's incorporated in everything, like media, movies, TV. Like, it's just the fun way to connect, and that's it.
Yeah, so. And you know what? It's been so ingrained in our society since medieval times that, like, it's not going to change overnight. But I think once it's starting to this juggernaut of like sobriety, like alcohol-free stuff, I don't touch it anymore. Because I'm like, well, it's still the alcohol company. It's still big alcohol. They're cashing in on your sobriety. Drink other stuff.
Yeah, I'll drink, like, if it's like a healthy mocktail that's like good for your body. Like, I like those kinds of things. But like, I don't have the drive to. I remember recently I went to an event and they were like, oh, do you want to try this NA whiskey? And I was like, sure, like, I'll try it. And I tried it. I'm like, this tastes like whiskey. I'm like, why would I want to drink this? It's so interesting. I never drink it for the taste. I guess some people do, but
no. But I mean, I drank vodka for the effect, and you know, and I like. There's one thing I won't try is the NA vodka, because I'm like, you know, that might just take me straight back.
Triggering.
And, I mean, I don't think it would, but like, I didn't like the taste of vodka. I mean, I drank it straight, but I didn't like the taste of it. So why would I want to drink? Yeah, and I just think, like, why do you want that? Well, just have yourself like a Pepsi or a kombucha or, you know, a mocktail, something that's fruity and fizzy. And then people say, oh, yeah, but you know, there's antioxidants in the wine that's good for you. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's the grapes. It's got the antioxidant, and you're killing that with the alcohol that's in it. The ethanol isn't at all good for you.
Yeah, it's fascinating, the stories that we will tell to justify.
Well, what the kind of governments have been telling us for years, but I know we're borderline conspiracy theory here, but it's not conspiracy; it's just the truth, isn't it? So, Jess, one piece of advice for someone at day one.
At day one, don't focus on the alcohol.
Nice. I like it.
Focus on who you want to become. And even ask yourself, is it aligned with who I'm becoming? I know your answer is going to be no. So just really get clear on the vision for who you want to become. Devote yourself entirely to that vision, like full on, no other option. The desire for alcohol will fall away. I promise. I promise.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Hard, fast promise. It's because it's true. It's true. You know, if you do the work. One habit that keeps you steady.
Ooh, there's so many of those. I would say meditation, daily meditation and prayer.
Yeah, like it. A podcast, film, or a book about recovery or hope?
Ooh. I don't know if I've had any. Like, I don't know if I've really listened to too many about recovery specifically.
Okay. You need to start listening to mine now.
Lots of personal. Yeah, I feel like maybe because my journey is a little different and
Of course. Yeah.
didn't need like that kind of guidance in that way. I've just focused on a lot of like personal development podcasts, I would say, and just really, I could say like a body of knowledge that really helped me was human design.
Well, yeah, as I say, it's recovery or hope. So anything that's going to help people, you know, kind of find a different path or a better path, then I'm all for that.
Yeah, human design is a quantum physics and astrology based science.
Right.
That just really helps you have this kind of like blueprint for who you are, why you're here, how you work, your energy, your emotions, your thoughts. And I think that was such a key component of really understanding myself and who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go, and accepting that so that I could actually commit to that. So I would say that's a big one.
Cool. And what was the name of that book that you mentioned earlier? Was it Rich?
That's Finding Ultra. Oh, and you know what? He was an alcoholic, Rich Roll. So that's a big part of his story. He still to this day talks about it on his podcast all the time. Beautiful book, though. Honestly, It was like, super good.
I'll add that to my list. There's an Audible version, is there?
Yeah, that's how I listen.
That's how I listen to books. So a friend of mine said years ago, she said that I was cheating because I was getting through beat books like in days. Do you know what I mean? And like because I could do it at work, and she was like, "You're cheating," and I was like, "What do you mean? Like the knowledge from the book is still going in my head just because I'm not sat with a book." And it's like
I think our brains just work differently. I know a lot of people have a way easier time listening to books than I do for sure. Sometimes I'll read books if I can really get into that. But I'm the kind of person who wants to do stuff while I'm listening too. So
it's perfect for me at work. So like when I get home and if I'm in bed reading a book, I'll just literally fall asleep. So like if I listen to a book while I'm working, it's all going in. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'll be like, oh my God, I don't even remember what that last chapter was. So I'll rewind it, because I've just zoned out. But and lastly, Jess, one word that describes your life now.
One word that describes my life now. That is so tough. The word that's coming to me is resonant.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm in resonance with my values and who I am and
your being.
And what I'm doing and how I'm being is in resonance with the truth of who I am.
Yeah, I love that, Jess. That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you and your story and your sobriety. So thank you for sharing with us. And all the best for the future and your future endeavors. So thank you. Yeah,
thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. It was great talking to you.
I really enjoyed it. You've got such a wonderful story and a wonderful presence about you. So thank you.
No, thank you. Oh, so much.
Cheers, Jess. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, Jimmy. You too.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Jess. Another amazing episode. But before I let you go, I just want to sit with something for a second because I think it's probably the most important thing that came out of today's conversation. And it's something I wish somebody had said to me years before they did. You don't have to hit rock bottom. I mean, that big idea that you have to lose everything before you're allowed to stop. It's one of the most damaging myths in the world of recovery. And I genuinely believe it keeps people drinking for years longer than they need to, because here's what happens. You're not sleeping in a doorway. You're not losing your job. You're not getting arrested. You're functioning. You're showing up. You're paying your bills and making people laugh and holding it together just enough that nobody's staging an intervention. And so you tell yourself, well, it's not that bad. I'm not one of them. I'll sort it out when it gets worse. And that voice will keep moving the goalpost as long as you let it. Jess wasn't at rock bottom, not in the traditional sense. Neither was I, not for a long time. But we were both somewhere we didn't belong. We were both showing up as a version of ourselves that we didn't recognize anymore. We were both numbing something we hadn't yet found the courage to face. And we were both slowly, quietly handing over the best parts of ourselves to something that was never giving anything back. That's the rock bottom nobody talks about. It's not always a dramatic crash. Sometimes it's a Tuesday morning, just a Tuesday morning, a hangover that feels heavier than usual, a moment in the mirror where something in you goes, this isn't it. This isn't who I am. This isn't the life I'm supposed to be living. And the terrifying, beautiful thing is that moment is enough. You don't need anything worse to happen. You don't need to earn your sobriety with suffering. You just need that one moment of clarity. And then you need to choose to honor it. So if you're listening to this right now and something in today's episode landed, don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll sort it when it gets bad enough, because it will get bad enough. It always does. And the only question is how much of your life you're willing to spend waiting for permission that was always yours to give yourself. You're allowed to stop now. You're allowed to choose differently today. Not when it gets worse. Not when you've lost enough. Now. That's what Jess did. That's what I did. And I promise you, the life on the other side of that decision is worth every uncomfortable, messy, beautiful moment it takes to get there. Thanks for listening. If this one meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And I'll see you next week in After Hours. So, till next week, stay safe, stay sober, stay supportive. And remember to hit the follow button and like and subscribe and leave me a comment. Peace, guys.